Hey stamping friends, it's Angie here with Too Cool Stamping. We are here with another live class. I'm so excited to share this with you today. And this is a little bit different than we typically do. Number one, because usually when I start to put a class together, the first thing I do is look for paper that I love and use that as my color combination and my color palette and kind of the starting point for all of the coordination of the images and the die cuts and everything. Tonight, we're going to do something a little bit different. We are starting with a beautiful stamp set, which is called Sketched Butterflies. It has beautiful dies that go with it, but we are going to create some fun color combinations that have nothing to do with designer series paper. Can you believe it? I can't, because I usually, like I said, I usually start with that. So this is totally different. And what I really wanted to focus on was the in colors, the beautiful in colors that we have for the 2024 to 2026 season. And I wanted to kind of just experiment and play with those and see what they looked like with some of our other core colors to kind of, you know, liven it up, freshen it up, and see what we could create that way. So we're going to get out our Stampin Blends markers. If you have those, you know already that they're fabulous, but they're perfect for this kind of a card class because the images are beautiful to color, and since we're experimenting with color, we can really play with a lot of different shades. So we're going to do that with your Stampin' Blends. We're also going to, I thought I'd just use this opportunity since we don't have designer series paper kind of pulling it all together. It's really the images that are going to pull it together with all the beautiful colors. But I wanted to use this as an opportunity to play with some different embossing folders and some different dies that we could use for labels for the sentiment. So just to give you a little bit of a sampling of a lot of different things. So again, Sketched Butterflies is the bundle that we're going to be using. It's available in the annual catalog, and as far as I know, it's available. I know there's sometimes we get ready to start a class and then something sells out, so that's crazy. But this is available right now, and like I said, get out your Stampin' Blends and just really have a lot of fun with it. All right, we're gonna flip the camera around. Oh, and don't forget, we're gonna have a 5-card class with this as well, like I typically do. So you'll be able to place an order with me for at least $45. Use that host code that I'm going to give you when I turn the camera around, and then you can receive a 5-card kit that has all of the supplies that you need to create the cards that I will be demonstrating tonight. You'll get all of the cardstock. Everything will be pre-embossed. It will be pre-die cut. Other than the butterflies, you'll need to either have the dies for those or just do a little fussy cutting. And then you add the inks and adhesives and you're good to go. The stamps, dies if you want, inks and adhesives, and I will have everything else. Embellishments, that type of thing will be included in your kit. And in case I forget to mention later, this kit is good through August 26th. That's a Monday. And so you'll have that, the ability to earn that kit for free with a $45 order with the host code until August 26th. And then I'll be mailing out that kit along with the tutorial later that week. So I'll keep you updated once you qualify. Okay, I'm going to flip the camera around. We're going to get started with our awesome projects. All right. Whoops, there we go. And this light, let's get everything nice and lit up here so you can see everything. And there we go. And we'll move this up just a bit. So you can see at the top, I have the host code for that free class. It's GNGMSHG, lots of G's. So that will be available. Just go to toocoolstamping.com. Click on the Shop Now link. You'll get to my online store. You can place a kit or an order for $45 or more. And just put this host code in on the checkout page, on the cart page. All right, this is the bundle that we're going to be working with. I adore butterflies, and we have had a lot of butterflies in the past, off and on, but I'm always happy to see another butterfly kit so we can play with it. And this one has some really pretty kind of pen and ink sketched looking butterflies and beautiful for coloring, as I mentioned earlier. The blends markers work perfectly with these. If you don't have blends, you can use the Stampin' markers. I think you'll be okay for most of the smaller butterflies. You might have a little bit of marker stroke look with the Stampin' markers, but there's really, if you use different colors, I think you'll be okay, and you can still use those. Some really great sentiments in here too, and then of course we have the coordinating dies that go with it. It's going to cut out all of the different butterfly shapes, plus there's some other intricate butterflies that you can use to cut out, cardstock or designer series paper as well. And here's a solid butterfly that goes behind this intricate cut one. I didn't use that, but maybe we'll use that on the thank you card that goes with your kit. So that's the bundle. And again, you can get that by going to toocoolstamping.com and clicking on the shop now link to get to my online store. All right, let's get started. The first one we're going to play with starts with Blueberry Bushel for your card base. It's 5.5 by 8.5, scored at 4 1/4, and I'll just fold that in half. Next, I have a piece of Azure Afternoon cardstock, and this is 3 1/4 by 4 1/2. I've already embossed that with the eyelet embossing folder. So I'll show you that. You can kind of see it a little better over here. So this is one of the embossing folders from the annual catalog that's just fantastic. I love it. I'm going to put this maybe down here. I'm getting a lot of shadow happening. Hold on a second. All right, well, I think I'm just going to get shadow today. I don't have my lighting set up right. I moved everything around. Okay, so we'll just work with it. So this is, again, embossed with the eyelet embossing folder. And then I'm going to layer that onto a layer of basic white that's going to be 3 3/8 by 4 5/8. So I'll just layer that together now using my seal adhesive. The thing I really love about the eyelet embossing folder, the debossed side is actually, to me, it's prettier than the embossed side. I love it when you can really use either side of your embossing folders. All right, so here is our first piece. Then we are going to add just a little strip of this iridescent striped ribbon. So this is, we're really going to use just 3 different types of accents for all of these cards, and they all are iridescent. So this iridescent striped ribbon just goes perfectly with the colors for all of the different colors. So it really allows you to explore and experiment and still match all of the accents. So I'm just going to use a little seal to tack that down on the back, and I'll cut off the excess there. And then I will layer that on my card front, again with seal. All right, so far we do not have any in colors, but we're going to add one now. I have a strip here of the Summer Splash in color. This is 1 1/2 by 5 1/4, and I'm just going to add that right over the top. It's really going to have a nice pop of color and also become our focal point area. All right, next. You know what is so ridiculous? I have a bucket of stamps and it's sitting on my other table, if you can believe it. I brought everything over here thinking I had everything ready to go. Hold on one second. I was feeling like something was missing. And oddly enough, it was the stamps. So that's kind of crazy. I don't think I've ever had that happen before. All right, so I have some scrap pieces of basic white here. And I'm going to use the medium size and also the small size. And most of these cards are going to feature the Memento Black because that is the ink that you're going to want to use with your Stampin' Blends. The Memento Black is a water-based, and it goes very well with the alcohol-based Stampin' Blend so that you don't have bleeding with using the two different inks. All right. Also need this one, and I used the wrong. That's barely going to fit in there. I used the wrong scrap. All right. Now you can see if you look at my image here, I did have a little bit of lightness to that. There's a couple reasons for that. I could either have just a kind of a dull spot where I need to add some ink to my ink pad, or every once in a while there's a little dip in the rubber that might cause it to do that. I think I need to get some re-inking done because I think I see it in both of the images. But to avoid that, what I do for a larger image like this is I can just hold this and kind of smush it down. And that is going to help me get a better image. There we go. All right. Now, when you're working with this, I highly recommend stamping with the Memento Black and then let it dry just a little bit, 10 minutes at least. If you can let it dry for just a little bit longer, the longer you let it sit, the greater the chance that you're not going to have any bleeding when you do your coloring. Okay, so for our first coloring experiment, I thought I would bring in, I have the Summer Splash, and this is light Summer Splash. I also have light Azure Afternoon to match the background. I have dark Azure Afternoon, which is very close to Blueberry, and then also the light Lemon Lime Twist. So a really pretty color combination. I love blues and greens together. So, so pretty. And I'm just going to show you how I'm not going to color for every single card because I don't want to spend the time on the video. You get what I mean. So I'm just going to color for this first card just to give you an idea of how you can start to color these butterflies. Experiment, color them. You know, butterflies are all different, and you can certainly, there's different sections to them that you can color in different ways. So have fun with it. I'm just going to add some of this Lemon Lime Twist to the outer edge of the bigger one, and then the middles of the smaller one. And then for one of the smaller ones, I'm using the brush tip edge. That's just simply because it lays down a lot of color very quickly. So I'm going to make one of these small ones, Summer Splash. And when you're using that brush tip, use it kind of like a paintbrush on the edge instead of pushing straight down so that you can keep that tip nice and pointy. The next one, oh, let me add some Summer Splash in this one too, in the middle. All right. And however you want to do it is going to look great. And then the Azure Afternoon, the light color, I'm going to use for this smaller butterfly. If you wanted to add shading, you could. I don't think you need a lot of shading with this, just straight color, just because the pen and ink sketched look is already giving you the shading that you need. And so you don't really need anything like that. I'm going to just finish these wings out with the Azure Afternoon. And then the last thing I'll do is use the dark Azure Afternoon for all of the butterfly bodies. I like to have the bodies be a little bit darker so that the wings really pop. Then you're going to use the dies to cut all of that out, and I've done that already. So I have these butterflies ready to go. And if I can pick it up. And then before we put those on our card, I'm going to stamp a sentiment. I use the Stylish Shapes dies to make my little banner there. And let me find my sentiment. It says, "You brighten up so many of my days." So we'll add this. Hopefully I can get it on here somewhat straight. Pretty good. When it's not photopolymer and you can't see through it, you just never know how it's gonna go. Okay, so let's put this on. I'm gonna add these butterflies and the sentiment just like this. I love the idea of threes, 3 different elements that are kind of a repeating element. I think that makes for a really nice design look on your card. So a couple of these cards, you'll see what I mean. Actually, several of the cards have the element of 3s. So we'll put the largest butterfly down here, just kind of center him on that block. I'm gonna go from the outer edges toward the middle so we can kind of make sure we have an even space. Popping up with some dimensionals. And for the longest time, you may have noticed that Wink of Stella was out of stock. That was something that was a supply issue that was industry-wide. It wasn't just for Stampin' Up, it was just in the whole crafting industry. We couldn't get Wink of Stella. And now it is back in stock. And so I have started using Wink of Stella again quite a bit. And they are it is so beautiful on these cards. I didn't bring it over with me, and my originals don't have that on there, but I can guarantee that if you added some Wink of Stella on here, it would be so lovely and shimmering. I should probably go find it before we're done so that you can see what it looks like. Okay, so I'm going to finish this off with some iridescent pearls. As I mentioned, I'm going to keep the iridescent look here. The ribbon and the pearls. And there is our first card. I'm gonna actually, let me see if I can get that Wink of Stella. Because now that I mention it, I just think it's so, so pretty. I want you to see it. If you have not used Wink of Stella, try it and you will want to use it on everything. It just gives a little bit of shimmer to flowers and butterflies and anything that needs just a little extra sparkle. So I'm just using it very liberally over all of the butterfly wings. Just a little, this is the Wink of Stella Clear. And let's see what it looks like in the camera. Hopefully it's gonna pick that up. I don't know if you can see that on the video, but it is very, very sparkly. I think that you'll really, really like it. So be sure to add that Wink of Stella. It's like $8 and it lasts for a really long time. Okay, next up, we're gonna start out with some gorgeous grape. So some nice bright colors this time. 5.5 by 8.5, scored at 4 1/4. And we'll get out our other combination here. I started out with some Flirty Flamingo. This is 4 1/4 by 1.5. And this time it is embossed with the Dashing Designs embossing folder. So you can see that one, really pretty. That's a newer one in the annual catalog. So I'll add this element. I wouldn't necessarily think that Flirty Flamingo and Gorgeous Grape would go together very well, but I liked it with this. You'll see how it all comes together once you have the butterflies. And then I have a couple of layers here. We're starting with a basic white layer, It's 3 by 4 1/4, and then you're going to layer that on a 3 1/2 or 3 1/4 by 4 1/2. We're going to start, before we do anything with it, we will add the sentiment, and we'll put thinking of you. And this will be essential for the positioning of our butterflies later. So we'll put that on. Petunia Pop is the color that we have that layered on. I love that. It's such a really pretty pinkish purple. And before we add it to our card front, we're going to have another little strip here of the iridescent striped ribbon. Again, the same way, I'm just going to put it right around here, about that far. And I just love it. Just picks up every color. Whatever color you're working with, it brings out purples. And the other one, it brought out the blue color. So we'll put that straight down onto our card front. And then we're going to work on the butterflies. And like I mentioned, I'm not going to be coloring all the butterflies. I don't want to be taking up a lot of your time with that kind of thing. But we're going to start out with this color combination. We already have the Petunia Pop. So I'm going to add a little Peach Pie for a little bit of really bright pop. This one is Highland Heather, and which is kind of a lighter version of the Gorgeous Grape, and then Flirty Flamingo. So some really pretty colors together there. And I've already stamped and colored the large butterfly. This one has Petunia Pop for the majority of the wings, and then a little bit of dark Peach Pie on the outer wings, with the light Highland Heather for the middle. Actually, is it dark or light? It's dark, dark Highland Heather. Then I have a medium size that is colored mainly in Flirty Flamingo, a little bit of Peach Pie in the middle, that dark Highland Heather for the body, and then some Petunia Pop right on the little polka dots that you might not even see those, but I just kind of highlighted those with the Petunia Pop for a little bit of dimension. And then the last little tiny butterfly is Petunia Pop and Peach Pie. So we'll see how those go together. We're gonna add, I'm just keeping these out so that you can see the nice pretty color combination. And we'll get out some dimensionals again for our large butterfly. And he's going to start down here at the bottom. He's the real fancy focal point. Then I'm going to put this medium size one up at the top. Whoops. So he's going to go about right here. And we'll finish up with the smallest one. Couple dimensionals there. So they're very simple cards, but those butterflies are such a pop. Such a pop. I'm going to make it go like this, I think. All right, and then we're going to add again some iridescent pearls. And they're just going to kind of float on in the middle here to take up some of that white space. And there is our second card. All right, let's try another one. Okay, this one is starting with Fresh Freesia as our card base, and it starts as a 5.5 by 8.5, and then scored at 4 1/4. Then I used my Stylish Shapes circle dies to run through the Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. I've been a stamper for a long time, and it's hard to get Big Shot out of your mind. But I just put the die right on here and layered all of the plates, and then I ran it through, but only up to here. I didn't run all the way through, because if you run all the way through, the edge of the plate will make a little mark on your page. So you just want to run it to wherever the die is, and then back it up out of your Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. So that makes a nice little window, and we can add on the inside. This will be our writing space, and also where we're going to put our focal point through that window. So this is 4 by 5 1/4. So now we have a nice focal point area right there. Next, we're going to have a piece of Pretty in Pink. This is another one of our in colors, and it's a color that came back from the past. This one's 4 1/4 by 2, and it is embossed with, what is it called? Cute Crochet. Let me get you that one so you can see that up close. So here is that embossing folder. Super, super cute. And we'll add that with some seal. This is another one that looks great, either the embossed or the debossed side. And I'm just going to put the debossed side because I tend to like that. I have a little bit of overlap there, which I don't like, so I always have to cut that off. So just use your snips just to trim that so that it's nice and flush. And then we're going to add some more of that iridescent ribbon right down the edge here. Fills in the space next to the window that we die cut there, and just adds a little fun color and shine. And I think actually I'm gonna make it go down here. I like it down here. So we'll kind of even it out down here, and then we'll add, let's do the focal point next. That is, I have our medium size, and then I actually stamped this image, which has 4 little butterflies. I stamped that on white and then just colored and cut out by hand. There's no die that goes with this one, but I colored and cut out by hand 2 of the little tiny butterflies to go with it. So I have the medium one, and this one is in Pretty in Pink for the center, then some fresh freesia. No, dark. Did I get the right one? Sorry. These are from the previous card. Very close colors, but here's the next card. So this is Pretty in Pink, the light. That is for the middle color. Then I have the dark fresh freesia, the center color, and then the outside is with the dark lemon lolly. So it has really nice bright colors. For the smaller ones, I have Pretty in Pink and dark petunia pop right in the center. It's kind of hard to see that one. And then this one is mainly the lemon lolly with just a little hint of Pretty in Pink. So let's put those there. I want those to, you could either pop them up with dimensionals, or I'm actually going to bend the wings up right at the edge of the body and use a couple of glue dots. So I'll just push right on the glue dots and pick them up, and then we'll put that right in the center and pop those wings up like he has just alighted right there. We'll do the same with these little tiny guys. Just fold them in half, find a glue dot, pop that off of there, and then make those wings pop up just a little bit. And then this last one, you can either pop up with dimensionals, use a little bit of liquid glue, or I'm just going to use just a tad bit of the seal. We'll add that right there. And then you have this really cute element, and you can do your writing around the edge of that. We're going to finish up with a little sentiment. I've cut a little die cut. This is with the Nested Essentials dies. That is this, another classic die set that you should have in your collection. And we'll stamp that in Memento ink. And this one says, "Hope is a beautiful thing that flutters in the soul." What a pretty sentiment. We'll stamp that on there. We'll pop it up with some dimensionals. And so we'll add that right here. We'll finish up with a few more of the iridescent pearls. And the way I did this one was just to add a large one and then a smaller one right on top and a smaller one right underneath. Just a fun little element. Again, if you added some Wink of Stella, that would give you a nice triangle of sparkle. So you'll definitely want to do that so that you have, it's kind of a design element to have a triangle look or a triangle way that your eye moves, and that would catch the light here, here, and then the Wink of Stella on the butterflies. All right, so that is our third card. The fourth card, we are going to use Shy Shamrock, and this one starts again at 5.5 by 8.5. This time I have scored in at 2 1/8, and then I just flipped it over and did 2 1/8. Again, that's going to make a gatefold card. So what you're going to want to do is line these up as best that you can, make them nice and flush, hold them together. You can see that there's a lot of give here, but to get them flush, you want to do that first before you use your bone folder to slick that down and crease that down. So there's your nice gatefold. Then I'm going to cover up each of those sides with another panel of Shy Shamrock. This one has already been embossed with the timber texture, and I'll get that for you. So that is this. Just a really subtle wood texture. Love that. And we'll just use some seal to put that on each panel. Now you could, if you wanted to, you could emboss the actual panel, but I find that when you do that, then you have, it's a little bit flimsy. It doesn't hold up very well. Actually, I'm going to start here, and I'm going to make sure that I'm not overlapping on the fold side. All right. Oops. We'll close this up. I'm going to do flush on this side, and I am overlapping a little bit here, so I want it to stay flush. Be very careful on that side so that you don't cut any of your fold. I just have to get things nice and flush. I can't stand it. All right, there we go. So there is our gatefold card with a little bit of texture that's just going to show a little bit. So we'll start out with a piece of basic white. This has been die cut with the perennial postage dies. You might remember those. We did that class earlier this year. Has beautiful postage nested rectangles in there. And then we have a piece, this is the largest postage die, by the way. Then we're going to have a piece of boho blue. This is 3.5 by 4 3/4. And we're gonna, once again, start with the sentiment. This time it's gonna be thank you. And we're gonna put that down here on the corner. Then we're gonna add some of those little butterflies that I showed you. And this time, we're gonna stamp those in boho blue. And we're just gonna add them around this pretty sentiment. I love how these are shaped. They really fit into every nook and cranny. And make it very, very easy. All right. So I kind of left it blank around there, gave it a lot of good breathing room. I'm going to use my seal adhesive. And add that to my postage piece here. And then I'm going to add that to my card front. So this is a pretty large card front on that gatefold. So you're not going to even know that it's a gatefold right at first. I'm going to flip this around so I know exactly where to put that adhesive so I don't go over that half. I don't want to close the card by accident by putting the adhesive over too far. So there, I know exactly where it's going to go, and now I have a pretty card front. All right, we have a little accent piece that we're going to add. This is in pecan pie. It's 1 inch by 4 3/4. And this is going to go right next to our sentiment. So it is covering up some of those butterflies, and that is okay. Next, we have another circle from the Stylish Shapes dies. And that's going to become our base, our foundation for our focal point right up here at the top. I feel like I put that on totally crooked. Hold on a second. I really did. Let's try again. Ooh. They're not going to see that. You're not going to see that. All right. Let's try again. I hate things that when when it's crooked and you know it's crooked, it's just, yeah, I don't know if you're like me, but I can't stand that. All right. It still looks crooked to me. But we'll put that on there. Next, we're going to add, again, another strip of this iridescent striped ribbon. It's going to go right down that pecan pie over the circle and around the whole card front. Just tie it in a double knot. Trim it off a little bit. And we'll scooch it down a little bit to the bottom. Okay. Then we'll finish it off with our very large butterfly. So this one I have colored with our combination of Shy Shamrock, and then we have the dark and light boho blue and the light pecan pie. So the light Shy Shamrock, light pecan pie, light boho blue, and then the center is with the dark boho blue. And that's just going to be the great big butterfly in the middle. Kind of reminds me of like insect collections. I don't know if you remember that, if you guys are old enough that you would remember that. Like pinned in a little box. That's what it reminds me of. I don't know why. But it just brings it all together. I love that these butterflies are the color palette. Let me put a couple of these new They're called iridescent faceted gems. So these, much like the iridescent pearls, they have that beautiful full array of color that kind of picks up whatever it's next to. And then you have the large and small versions. So we are just going to add a couple of those. One here and one here. Again, a little wink of Stella is going to look really fantastic on there. And I love that embossed look is just adding a little bit of texture to the inside. You're going to get another piece of white here to finish it off. Beautiful. Okay, that's our fourth one. And we have one more. And if you're like me, or if you know anything about me, you know that a lot of times I do, which one of these cards is not like the other? The last one is always, I'm always kind of trying to think of something outside the box for something a little different to show you. And so the last card, of course, I haven't used any of the die cuts, so I wanted to try that. So we're going to start with Granny Apple Green, again, 5.5 by 8.5, scored at 4 1/4. No Stampin' Blends on this one. It's going to be a horizontal card. I have another piece here of Granny Apple Green that's 5 1/4 by 4, and it is embossed with the exposed brick embossing folder. And that's been around for a little while, so you probably know what that is, but I will show you anyway. You can see it a little better maybe on this by holding it up that way. All right, next we have a die cut. This is Lemon Lime Twist that I have die cut using the Everyday Details. Another great set for your collection. Lots of fun shapes here. And I'm loving the dots all the way around. So much fun. If you get your little, what's it called? That little roller thing, that roller brush, it'll help you get all the little pieces. Not so much out of here. They come out of here pretty easily, but they do get stuck in the die. So you need that to clean your die out in between runs. So I wanted those dots to pop. So I have another piece here of basic white that goes right behind it, and it's going to measure 3 1/4 by 1 3/4, and that's just going to go right behind it. And again, I made that a little bit too long for some reason, so we're just going to cut it off a tiny bit. Hopefully, there we go. Okay, so there, I love how that makes that white pop out. We're going to also layer that on a piece of peach pie. So a little pop of color here, 3 1/2 by 2. And we're also going to have a pop of Azure Afternoon. So we're going to add some seal to that. So if you notice that I keep using my finger here, I'm having trouble with, for some reason, starting this seal. Sometimes it doesn't catch. And so if you just use your finger and kind of push it along, it will roll just fine. So there's our first piece. We're going to add a little overlapping piece right here. And we're going to, before we put our sentiment on, do I have my piece? No. What happened to it? It must have fell on the floor. I have a ribbon that I would tie on here, and I would show you how to do it if I had it next to me. Okay, I'm just going to tell you because I don't have it here. I don't know what happened to it. Anyway, you're going to take your ribbon and have it go around your card front like we do, only we're not going to tie it. We're just going to adhere it right you'll put a little seal right here and you'll wrap it around and stick the ends here and trim them off as needed. It's going to go right behind a little sentiment, and I will make that right now. So I have a piece here of basic white. I'll show you with my finished version that I've already done. This is 1 3/4 by 1 1/8. And then we'll use our final sentiment, wishing you a beautiful birthday. Add that on this piece and pop that up with some dimensionals. Again, that would be right over the top of the ribbon that we're pretending is going all the way around there. And we'll put that right here. We're going to finish off with a beautiful focal point that is die cut using that sketched butterflies dies. I'm going to use my little, I have a paper piercer. They don't sell that anymore, but they do have the take your pick tool, which is perfect for this kind of thing. Just pokes out the little pieces. They should be able to, they should be falling right out, but they do need a little help sometimes getting going. And then we're going to pop this up, and there's not a lot of room to pop it up. You could just use some liquid glue to put this down, but I'm going to put little mini dimensionals for the ones, there's 2 of them that have a big enough body. You could put a mini dimensional, and then the other one, I'm going to cut a dimensional in half. So I'm just gonna, you can either cut a dimensional in half, or you can use the edge of the dimensional, the edge around it. And that just needs a little tiny bit to pop up there. Sometimes it's hard to get the backing off of those little tiny ones. But this is just going to lay right in here like this and really add a pretty focal point. We're going to end up with a few more of the iridescent faceted gems. So you're going to have your ribbon going across here, which I will show you in a minute. All right, so here is, let me show you the actual card with the ribbon. So here's that ribbon and how it goes underneath the sentiment, and it wraps all the way around the card. So the 2 ends you want to meet right under the sentiment. Just tack it down with some seal and then add that, the dimensionals will also hold that nice and secure underneath there as well. But it really has, it's so pretty the way the butterflies lay over that sentiment, or that the shimmer in the ribbon, and then that faceted gems also gives you a little extra shimmer as well. If you wanted to, you could add a little wink of Stella to the butterflies and just make them kind of a white shimmery look. If I could find my wink of Stella in my crazy, oh, here it is, I would show you. Here we go. So you can just add just a tiny bit on each one, and I'll just show you one just to give you, so I don't know if that's picking, whether the camera can pick that up, but it's really pretty. It'd be a nice way to add another little bit of glimmer to that card. Okay, add Wink of Stella to your order for sure. Remember, you can get this class for free with a $45 order at my online store. Just go to toocoolstamping.com, click on the Shop Now link, and you will place an order, and then just use that host code on the checkout, the cart page, and it has a place that you can use that host code. So let's look at all of the cards again. We have all of these and this one as well. So you're going to get 5 supplies to make all 5 cards. Remember, that includes the cardstock, anything that's embossed, anything that's die cut, other than something that is stamped and then die cut. So you will need either the sketched butterflies dies to cut out the butterflies, or you can just use paper snips and do a little fussy cutting, and that works as well. The embellishments are included, the ribbon will be included. All you need to do is have the sketched butterflies stamp set, the inks, and the adhesives. And blender pens are going to be a big factor with this class. Again, Wink of Stella for a little bit of extra shimmer. If you don't have blender pens, you can always use the Stampin' markers. They don't do as good of a job, but they will do the job. So if you don't want to invest in the blends yet, then you definitely don't need to. I will give you a hint though. The next class that I'm doing will be featuring more blender pens and some really beautiful imagery with that as well in coloring. So that comes up in another couple of weeks. This particular class, Sketch Butterflies, is available to be earned through August 26th of 2024. And you will have your tutorial and class mailed out by the end of that week. All right, everybody, thank you so much for joining me for another live class. I hope you've really had fun watching me experiment a little bit with colors and using some in colors to create new fresh color combinations, looking at some different embossing folders, different label dies, and just having some fun with iridescence as well. So thank you so much for joining me tonight. I look forward to our next class. I'll talk to you soon. This is Angie with Too Cool Stamping. Bye-bye.